One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. You've covered the Bay Area schools for quite a long time for the Pac-12, and now you've got this broader perspective with the Pac-12 Hotline. And we've seen some matriculations around the media industry, of course, the Athletic and what they are doing with both on the football and basketball side nationally and then regionally or hyper-locally, if you will, in some cities, delivering quality journalism that is a subscription model, or it's the structure is a subscription model. They've had a lot of success in Toronto, Cleveland. Your former peer at the San Jose Mercury News, Tim Kawakami, is now leading that effort in the Bay Area. TMG College Sports is another one that comes to mind out in the Boston area, another subscription-based. Now, yours is not, the new Pac-12 Hotline idea here is not subscription-based, but it is covering all 12 schools in the league at a much deeper level. Give us the 101 here for anybody who hasn't already read about it.
Well, it's going to be, I don't think it's been attempted before. It is going to be, the goal is to deliver high-quality content about the conference on, through multiple channels, so to speak. We can have a newsletter, original written content on the blog, podcasts, a lot of social outreach, video as well. It's going to be trying to build a community in some ways, and I believe that there is a large group of Pac-12 fans that care about more than just their own team, and that want perspective on what's going on around the league and around the country, and would be, willing to read quality content. I disagree with the Fox model that it's all about video. I think the written word still matters, and I think that there's a lot of folks out here that would like to read and listen to something that can tell them a little bit more about what's going on. It's tough to navigate. There's so many media outlets. There's just everywhere you turn, there's content's coming at you. And I'd like to provide folks with, kind of a guide to navigating all that, and let them know, try to tell them something they don't know.
Have you had a sense yet, John, and when we've talked about this play for you offline a little bit, but do you have a sense of at what mile markers, if you will, you and your team may stop to go, okay, what's the data say? Is this a 3, 6, 9 month roadmap that you're just going to pump out a ton of content before you look back, or is that going to be constantly tweaked?
That's a good question. Right now, my head is down, just trying to get through these first few days. I'm sure that the folks who are working with me are monitoring that kind of stuff. I don't even ask for data. I try to just keep focused on what I've got to produce, and managing that line between quantity and quality. You don't want to just churn out stuff that is not high quality, but at the same time, you need to have a pretty steady stream of material out there, on the various platforms, whether it's a newsletter, podcast, or written analysis. So I'm not worrying about that yet. I'm sure that there will come a time when I'll have a conversation or two with my folks at the Mercury News about this, and whether that's in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, I don't know. I certainly intend to carry this project all the way through the spring and the summer, even maybe a little bit slow next June, July. But I'm looking at this as a permanent gig, and hoping to make it work.
How does this change maybe your daily or weekly routine of sourcing stories, pushing more content? Clearly that might be a little more difficult on the near term just because of the volume that you intend to offer to the marketplace. But are there pockets of the Pac-12 that you yourself have been more interested to dig into and you simply haven't because it's been such a Bay focus?
There's a lot. I wake up in the middle of the night with tons of ideas. I've been out here for many years, and I've had ideas about various teams or coaches or athletic departments that I've always thought would be interesting, and I never really had an outlet because my primary job was writing about Stanford and Cal, and on a secondary level, I would write about the conference. And now, I'm basically untethered. And if there's something that I find interesting about Utah, I'm going to dig in. If there's something I find interesting about Washington or ASU, I'm going to dig in. And even if that piece of content is only serving that fan base, well, that's okay. As long as I'm treating the 12 equally, I think it's fine to be specific to a certain team or a certain school. I've got an idea for the Holy War, which is the week 2 of the season. I've got an idea about UCLA. I've got tons of ideas, and it's just going to be a matter of figuring out the right time to implement them.
And how about as you move forward, Jon? Is there the potential that you think, if one of the content verticals you see significant more engagement, I suppose you might turn more focus to maybe Facebook Live videos or podcasts, which we've seen grow and listen to now for a couple of years, but seem to be growing quite rapidly throughout the industry.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely view this as an evolving process. There is not really a model that I'm aware of for covering a major conference on all these different platforms. And I even put out a fan poll yesterday asking people to tell me how they want their content. And I'm very curious to see what the response is, especially as it relates to video. I'm just not convinced that fans are as hung up on video as some of one website is at least. I think people are going to want to get their information, written word, newsletter, the podcast. I think all that stuff's going to be popular, but I certainly want to a certain extent, go with where the demand is for sure, and I'm going to give that poll a couple of weeks to settle in, and then take a look at it and see what people have to say.
And let's define volume, or your intended volume, to start here. So give us a couple of the different verticals, newsletter, etc. For those listening who want to subscribe and follow what's going on, what type of volume are you intending to push? Well,
the big thing is, if you type in Pac12Hotline.com, you'll get to the site. So the newsletter, free newsletter, the plan is for it to be produced 3 times a week during the football season, ramping up to that point. But once games start, there's a rhythm to the football week, and I'm planning to have a newsletter in everybody's inbox Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. The Saturday will be a quick hitter, kind of a tailgate tidbits. Monday is recovery. You're either thrilled or depressed, and you got to kind of climb out of it. Thursday is the anticipation of the weekend to come, and the newsletter will reflect that rhythm. I've got a couple of plans for different podcasts. One of them is the evergreen discussions, big picture topics, something that you can listen to at any point during the season. But I'm also going to try to be much more do something that's kind of a daily newsy recap a couple of times a week. We modeled a little bit on the New York Times as the daily. Just find a hot topic and talk to a reporter or someone about that specifically. Certainly tons of content on the Pac-12 Hotline blog. I'm hoping to produce 2 or 3 new pieces of content a day there. Social, I'm going to be on Twitter all the time. They're actually giving me a Facebook page for the Pac-12 Hotline to be doing that. Mailbags, reader polls, trying to make it as create as much engagement as possible. We've even got an email set up, Pac-12 Hotline at BayAreaNewsGroup.com, so readers can reach out to me directly with tips or suggestions, whatever it is, and then there'll be some video content to complement all of that. So it's a lot, but it's going to be fun, and I think that there's definitely a market for it.
What's the sense you get from your peers when you maybe first told them about the move? Was it, oh man, that sounds interesting, good luck? Or was it, oh man, good luck with that? What's the support out there like?
It's been great. I think people recognize that there's a need. There's been some cutbacks elsewhere, and I think that this is viewed as an opportunity. There's enough fans out there that want quality content that I could fill that niche, and people have been very supportive. Everybody wants stuff like this to work. Everybody in media and journalism wants to see fans consuming content, especially, I think, non-video content. And I'm rooting for the other new forms. I'm rooting for the Athletic to succeed, right? It seems like a subscription model has a lot of appeal. I remember reading David Simon, the guy who did The Wire, which is like the greatest TV series of all time on HBO. He wrote it. He was a Baltimore Sun reporter, and he said, people will be willing to. He's talking about HBO. People willing to pay for quality content. And I think that we've seen that. Amazon's proven the subscription model works, and it'd be great if the Athletic works and people get used to paying for content, a nominal fee. And I think that newspapers certainly could end up, relying heavily on that subscription model as well. That we're already seeing that move. It's not just about scale and selling ads against the content on the sites. That's not working out terrifically. So there's definitely a change. There's a change in the way fans are consuming games. There's a change in the way media is producing content, and it's kind of about finding the next dimension here.
And that's today's One Question, brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. One Question is designed to give D1 Ticker subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences. One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.